Hi everyone, um, my name is Edgar and today we're going to refactor this function. This is the first refactoring session that I'm having. I thought we have some nice ideas to share, and what we'll try to do is we'll try to optimize the code, make it cleaner, simpler, easy to understand, easy to maintain, and easy to test, so that we won't have this kind of big monolith function with a lot of return, and we'll, from the first side, we'll understand what is going on here. Okay, so let's go. What I don't like here much is this constants that are being used over the different parts of the function that are being declared here, mutated here, and used here. And the other one is declared here, used here, and here. So personally, I also did a lot of this kind of stuff, and I think a lot of people that do promises, they use it a lot because it's very common to get into this trap, but in 90% of cases you can eliminate those kind of variables, and you can just eliminate them and use a little bit of functional style programming to get rid of those and have only function calls inside your application. Okay, you don't need those. So let's get rid of this and make it a bit cleaner. What is the purpose of this code? If the rate plans length more than 0, then map over the plans and then push. Okay, we know that if we are mapping on an empty array, then nothing happens, okay? So that's not an issue to remove this if. This is completely useless. And then, why the developer uses this push? Because he don't want to have an empty array. He only wants, whenever he found any plans, he mapping on categories, finding the plan from somewhere, database, I don't know, and then mapping on those plans, and if there is something, then he pushes the result. So this is for avoiding empty arrays, okay, and empty results into the array. This is the single pure justification for pushing the data. But let's see what we can do from this code. Okay, let's just have one thing. Here we get the rate plan and let's return it from now on. That would be wrong for the application logic, but we'll fix it. Okay, we get the rate plan and we return this object. For returning this object, we need to have room category and room plan. Okay, those two. Can we make it another separate function? Yep, we can. Const got plan, whatever the name would be set later, rates plan and room category, which results in this object. Agree or not, this is it. With rates plan and room category. Okay, a little bit simpler, but still we have here the map function that in the end returns an array. Sometimes sometimes this would return an empty array because the map will not iterate over rate plans because it's an empty array, and then return would be an empty array here also. So here, the outcome that we might have is an empty array, an array with an objects inside, again an empty array, and again some array with objects. So this is the result from here, basically from here, because for each plan it iterates and it maps the results and gets this kind of arrays. So from here we need to remove those empty arrays. Agree? And here we need to have a function that is removing those arrays. We will invent another thing, which is remove empty nested arrays. I like long names in case they describe the whole thing that function is doing and you don't need any other comment to put over on top of it. So let's live with these long names for now. We'll have array filter with an item length. If an element of the array would have any length, so it's not an empty array, then it will be in the final result. If it's an empty array, it will be filtered out. So this function, in case it has this kind of input, will yield in this kind of output. It will give us an array with only meaningful data. An array which consists of array of objects, and we will not have any empty things there. Okay, let's use this at the end of this function to filter out and remove the empty things out of there. Get rate plans. Okay, for this get rate plans we are using the hotel ID and the category ID. Okay, get rate plans for a category. Can we have another function which would be useful, I think, later? We're taking up this and we're taking the room category. Basically we're taking the room category. That would be enough. In the end, what we're giving out is this. We have the hotel ID, we have the room category to use it, we have the rate plan, which is coming from the results, so that's clear. Then here we can have return result map. This return is completely useless. We can use this thing. So this is it. Okay, get plans for the particular category. We give him the hotel ID, we give him the room category, and we're done. We can take this function into this level. Agree or not? Let's see. The map will give us full of arrays with this notation. It will give us an array which consists this, which consists this kind of objects, this kind of elements. This is the result of the map, this map, because it will take category, and for each category it will return us this kind of arrays. Okay, but what was our goal and what was the purpose of pushing data into rooms? That the developer wanted to have one single array with objects all in the same array. So we need to get from this, we need to get this kind of array. So for that we will invent another function which we would call combine nested arrays array reduce A and B, or initial and next item would be much more cleaner. We are using the spread operator to push initial data into the array, then push the data from the next element, well, next current, basically it's current item, because it maps over, this reduce maps over the array elements, and it takes the current element and pushes the data into this array. For the initial data, we are using the empty array, and sorry, this should be, it takes, so reduce takes 2 arguments, a callback function, one callback function with 2 arguments, and an initial value for this initial. Okay, so on the next iteration, this initial value would be the array combined from empty array and the first element contents. Then we will iterate, and at the end, from this kind of array, we will get this kind of array, filled with inside objects only. Agree or not, you can test it later. Okay. Combine nested arrays. So with combined nested arrays, we will get out from this promised map. We will take the result, combine the nested arrays, and at the end we will get the desired rooms object that was initially pushed into, and we will get rid of this data. This variable, we're now so what we have now, we have one small function, 2 inline functions, again one function that we removed out for each hotel, and for each room category we will get all the category plans. Yeah, and for all the categories, basically what does this, it takes all the categories, and for all categories it gets the plans. So we can invent another one called function get rate rate plans for categories. In this case, this would take 2 arguments. It would take the categories, and it would take hotel ID, which we will use later. So categories hotel ID, and it will return for us this pretty thing. I hope it's not scary. Oh, sorry. This is a function that takes 2 arguments and returns map over categories, and for each category it takes the category plans, and at the end we can combine them all together into a single array and then give the result back. Okay, so if we want to do this, we will use this combined nested arrays here in this function, and in this return we will just write this function name. Oops. Nice. These are room, basically it's not rooms, it's room plans, but let's live with this. So get plans for categories. Plans for categories. For all categories we are getting plans. Okay. I would change the order of those. So we have this for each categories. Room category, we can use just a category. Here also room category can be eliminated with just a category, because it's clear it's a room category. Okay. Pretty neat so far. Get rate plans for categories. So we are getting plans for categories, and we are getting room plans. That's to be room plans for each room plan. We are doing some stuff over there. This is again map and again map inside of a map with push. So the purpose is again same. The developer doesn't want to have an empty array, he wants to have a flat array with this objects field inside the array. Okay, and we have the room plans and we are mapping over these room plans. Now get category occupancies. For each occupancy we're getting data occupancies, map over single occupancy, and pushing some data. Let's just return whatever we have and return the result of this occupancies. For each single occupancy we're getting some data. How can we, what do we need from here? We are having the data and giving the result back, so we can just take this out from here and again we will have to filter out the unnecessary and empty fields from there. So if at the end of this line I write like remove empty nested arrays, and at the end of category occupancies write then join combine nested arrays, that would be the same result, but I want to be more clear. Yeah, here it gets get category occupancies. Let's see if we can just take this out, this part, and use it as a separate function. Okay, for each plan we're getting occupancies. So function get plan occupancies, something like that. Okay, get category occupancies, get cut plan. Here we need the room, which is basically room plan. It takes the room plan arguments and it uses its category. Then it goes find the data, and the data it uses own plan single. Yeah, nothing is missing from here. Get plan occupancies. Then we will put this function inside of this thing. But the nested arrays doesn't have anything to do there. Don't have anything to do there. So nested arrays we need to have here. Basically that's it. This variable is not needed anymore, and the room data will be from here. I want to make it a bit more. Well, I can do it, can write it this way. So look what the code looks like right now. Get rate plan for categories, and then for each room plan it does some stuff, get plain occupancies. To be honest, I would take these two things away with another function which would currently I call something, I don't know, fn, whatever. Doesn't really mean anything. Here I need only the room plans and to iterate over them to get the result, combine the arrays, and instead of these room plans taking and moving, I would just call this function. I'm just writing fn, so I don't want to go into details. It doesn't really matter what would be the name of this function. the owner of the code and the developer that wrote this, he knows the business logic and he can put a precise name. But what we have achieved is that we are having functions that are calling other functions, and this global function that was a big monolith thing, we have divided into smaller pieces that might be used separately, and those might be easily tested later. This is not an inline function then, so I'll write this way. We have three basic functions which we can unit test easily. We have three other functions that are not easily unit tested, but again they can be tested during the integration test, and those are functions that can be used later, and they are reusable because they take, for example, those parameters and they give you the result. And I hope this would be used on different other parts of the application. So basically my logic and what I want to achieve is that either function does some calls to other functions or it does some kind of operation. Okay, calculation, summing, or any other stuff. That's why I want to see just function calls to see this is being happen, and after this is being called, and after this is being called. Okay, that's clear. If I want to see inside of any function, then I will go and check what is going on inside it. If I want to understand what's inside this, I want to check here. I will check here. And so divide and conquer, this is the logic. Don't have big monolith, huge functions that no one would understand, and you'll break your head a month later when you will debug or you will change anything. Okay, all we are doing for maintenance, easy maintenance, clean code, readability, and reusable code, of course, and not repeating ourselves. So maybe this can be further optimized, but right now I don't have anything to add on top of this. So if you have any comments, please post and please make your suggestions. So thank you very much for your attention and for your patience. See you.